Meet Danica Harris, dedicated wife, mother, realtor, and licensed clinical social worker in the Kansas City area. Danica's career journey stems in her family, with her drive clearly directed at being a good mentor and role model to her husband and to inquisitive children. Danica is more focused than ever. Her latest quest? A soul mission, helping others achieve their goals, both emotionally and financially. See what her plans are and the actions she's taking to succeed in her mission right here on Signature on the Industry. I recently had the opportunity to sit with Danica Harris to ask her a few questions about her career journey. My first question: how did you get started in the industry?
So the road to real estate has been a bit of a journey for me. I have always known that I was meant to help people in some way. I've been that way since I was a young girl. Whether I wanted to be involved or not, people would come and ask me for help or ask me for advice, and I naturally would feel the pull to help them in some way. So that's ultimately what led to my becoming a licensed clinical social worker.
Okay.
My area of expertise is in trauma and anything that might stem from trauma or having experienced a traumatic event. So depression, anxiety, grief, loss, relational or attachment issues. That's really where I've spent a lot of my time in the past 22 years working with people. It's also ultimately what led to my experiencing what we refer to in the field as compassion fatigue. Mm-hmm. Compassion fatigue, simply put, is where you just start to experience signs of burnout or fatigue, just how it sounds, from working alongside the pain and suffering of the world every day. So about 5.5 years ago, I was really at this place where I knew that I needed to do something about that. It was getting to a point where I was not my best version of myself. And I knew if I wasn't the best version of Danica, then how could I really truly help people, right? So it's 4th of July, I'm on my parents' back porch up on our family farm, one of my most favorite places in the world. And it's still like emotional. It still gets me right here when I talk about it. I just was like falling apart and feeling very much at a crossroads. Mm-hmm. And who am I if I'm not helping people? Like, who is Danica? Right. Because it's so much of my identity and has been for so long. So anyway, my dad happened to come on the back porch. And the reason this moment between us is just really so amazing is my dad is not really an emotional guy. Like, he's a really good man. He's a good person. He's a good businessman. Mm-hmm. But emotions are not his thing. Like, they're my thing, right? Yes. So he's like, what's going on with you? And I just kind of launch into where I'm at and feeling like I don't know what comes next. And Dad says, well, I've been telling you for years you should be selling real estate. My dad is also a realtor. He's been in the business since the early 1980s. And I'm like, this again. Why are we discussing? Thanks, Dad. Like, I'm looking for life advice. And you're like, you should be selling real estate. So he's like, no, I'm serious. Mm-hmm. He says, one of the hardest parts of the business is learning how to work with people. Yep. And Danica, you already know how to do that. Mm-hmm. You do that better than most people I know. So what's holding you back from selling real estate? So that was kind of the end of the discussion. And I took what he had to say at heart and also thought, I'm literally never doing that,
Not happening.
But as we were driving back home to Kansas City, I just got to really thinking about it. And I got to thinking about real estate in a different way. Could this be a way that I help people? It's not just about selling a house. Mm-hmm. It's not just about, selling a property. It's about helping people find shelter, yes. Find a safe place, find a place that will become their home, mm-hmm. where maybe they raise their family, mm-hmm. And so when I kind of shifted my perspective on what it means to really sell real estate, that's sort of what started me down this path.
Next question. Has your business evolved since starting your real estate journey? If so, how?
Yes, it's evolved a great deal, I think. When I first started, I did take a hard break from practicing social work directly because I really wanted to give the business a chance. The first 2 years, though, I would say I struggled between the tension of I still really love being a social worker, and I miss that I've let that piece go while also trying to build this real estate business and figure out, who am I? What kind of realtor am I? What is my, they talk about in the business that you need to find your niche in some way. What is it? What is my niche, if you will? Well, it's helping people. And so as time has gone on, I have started practicing again. I do therapy part-time because I could just never really fully let that go. I mostly do virtual or online sessions, which is phenomenal because it works really well with my real estate business. The flow goes really well. And I decided that what would it look like to bring these two things together? That being said, a couple of years ago, as several people know, we experienced our own traumatic event as a family. Our children were in an accident on our family farm. Our son sustained a very significant leg injury. We lived through a few days of not knowing whether or not his leg would have to be amputated. And consequently, he spent 27 days in the hospital. So during those 27 days, I started to write. And what's interesting is I think most people thought I was writing for them, if that makes sense. To some degree I was trying to keep people informed. I said up front, I'm like, I can't be dealing with everyone's phone calls and messages. So this is how I will keep you updated. As I started to write, it really became more for me. And it was so therapeutic. And I found that I not only loved to write, that I was fairly decent at it, and it was starting to draw people to me. And so it made me think, if this could help people in some way, if my writing could help people in some way, why not do it? So that's sort of where the dream of the blog was born. And so I've been kind of working on the last year or so, getting that up and going. It's called Soul House Diaries. Soul is another name for emotion. I'm in the business of emotions. House is just how it sounds, whether I'm selling you a house or if you think about a house more in the sense of, it's your protection, it's your shelter. And then diaries, just because I love the word diaries. And I feel like my writing is a little bit more of a memoir type writing anyways. So as this gets launched, it's also going to house all the services that I offer, whether that be real estate, life coaching, parenting coaching, or therapy. I also do consultation with people in the community. It will have all of these services under one umbrella.
That is so smart.
Next question. How do you blend your social working skills with your real estate skills?
And it sounds like you've kind of already answered it.
So I did kind of already answer that, but I would expand it just a little bit more. I have, over the years professionally as a social worker, I have seen and experienced some of the worst things that a person can go through. So in my mind, when something goes wrong in a real estate transaction, it's just not life-ending. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does.
But to my people, to my clients, it can feel like one of the worst things they've ever gone through.
Absolutely.
That's where I think my social work skills really come in handy, because I can understand and have an empathy for what they're going through without also getting caught up in it emotionally. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
So then I'm able to really help and support them through that process. When you're making a decision to purchase real estate, next to finding your life partner, I tell people real estate's one of the biggest decisions you're going to make in a lifetime. It's important, it matters, and let's really dig into what matters to you. So I almost work a real estate transaction just like I would a therapeutic assessment. We sit down, we talk about, what do you feel like you need? What do you want? What can you do? What are you capable of purchasing right now? Because my ultimate goal is also to make sure that people do not end up into a situation that's not going to be good for them. in any way, physically, financially, personally. I want this to be something that really works for them.
Do you have any advice for agents who may be struggling?
That's a great question. Mostly because I feel like at times I have been the agent who's struggling more than once.
Yep.
When I first started in the business, I started with some individuals, some of them who are our top performers now in the office. And it seemed like almost overnight, things just took off for them. I mean, it was great. I mean, they were really killing it and they've done a great job. It took me almost 6 months to close my first transaction. So it's hard to walk alongside others who appear to be doing so well, and you're still sitting there feeling like you're really struggling and not sure where to go next. And what I learned through that process is I can't compare myself to someone else. My journey is different, right? And at the end of the day, different doesn't equal less than.
No.
It's just different. Yep. That's all. Just different. So I think my advice would be follow your own path. Remember that you're on your own journey and stay the course. Don't compare yourself to what someone else has going on. Because at the end of the day, we never really know what's happening in their life. Right? The grass, that old saying, the grass is always greener.
Yep.
I've hopped over to the other side sometimes. It's not much greener over there. Like, follow your own path, stay on your own journey. Different is not less than. It's just different.
Last question. What is your craziest real estate story?
I had to really think about this, just so you know, because most of my crazy stories come from doing social work. And I probably can't share a lot of them either. You know, that whole confidentiality. But I had one that came to mind. So, you know, I really believe that everyone has their own journey, their own story to tell. I feel that also about houses, especially old houses. And oftentimes what I will say is, you know, I really believe that every house has a story to tell. If this house could tell its story, what would it tell us? And most times that's a really heartwarming line. I'm pointing out all the great features of the property. Everyone's really feeling the moment. On this one particular day, as we were walking through this house, we were just stepping across the threshold to go into a bedroom. As I pull out my line, every house has a story to tell. If we could ask this house, what story might it tell us? As we walk into the bedroom, the TV in the corner unexpectedly comes on. And it doesn't just come on, like it's loud, almost deafening how loud it is. It was incredibly unsettling. I mean, we all, I looked at my buyers and I'm like, needless to say, we didn't stay much longer because it just kind of freaked everybody out and we left. So, I also am a little bit more reserved on how often I use that line.
I believe that.
When I walked in, it had a vibe. The house had a vibe. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I know exactly
You
what
can
you're talking
sometimes walk in the house. And so I was already a little bit worked up because it just, I can't explain it. It had a vibe. So then when the TV thing happened, I'm like, I'm out of here. Let's go.
Let's go, guys. That's all, folks.
All right.
Thanks, Danica.